Hello guys, welcome back to Samber Style. On this channel we like to do everything ourselves. Sometimes we build something new, other times we have to fix something. Like in today's episode, we are going to be fixing my truck's AC. As some of you might know, a common issue with these trucks is that their AC fails. I actually noticed that my truck's AC stopped working kind of before I rebuilt this motor. I figured after I rebuild it, I'll take it to a shop, get it recharged and make sure everything is good. And that's exactly what I did. After I rebuilt this motor, I took it to a shop. They tested it for leaks, or so they say, and they recharged the system. It was wonderful. I had AC for a whole 24 hours. The next day when I wanted to get in a truck and drive, it was blowing hot air. And upon further investigation, I figured that this is a common issue with these year model trucks, that their condenser is leaking. So I looked up in where the common spot is, and what do you know? There was a leak indeed. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to be replacing the condenser. I'll show you guys how I'm going to do that. And if you're only interested in how to recharge your AC system, I'm going to show you guys all the steps on how to get it done using a vacuum pump and doing it the proper way. So I'm going to jump right in and start fixing this AC. I just want to show you guys where the common leak is. I'm going to do my best to show you guys through this grill. So as you guys can see right there in the middle where it looks kind of wet, that is the common failure issue of these condensers. So that is where I saw the fluids came out. So yeah, we're gonna replace this condenser. Okay, so the way we're gonna remove this condenser is by taking it out underneath here. So I'm gonna remove this cover, remove the support over here, and then I'm also going to remove this fan. So in order to remove the fan, I need to remove this intake. After I remove the intake, I can loosen the radiator and the condenser, and they can swivel back and forth. That will give me enough room to pick up the condenser, slide the new one in, and do all the connections. So first thing is, I'm going to have to remove this plastic cover with 12 of these little clips right here. So let's get into that. Intake with the 8mm. Remove the mass airflow sensor, and there's two clips on the fans that we're gonna disconnect. Probably better to wait for the engine to cool down before you start working on it. 1, 2. We'll disconnect this water line, put that out the way. Try to keep it out the way. The fan has 2 bolts, which is 10mm. 1, 2. Then we're gonna have to wiggle it out. There's also some hoses connected on the fan, so we gotta disconnect them, and the oil lines are also connected to the fan. So now we should be Gucci. The fan out. And now we're going to take off all 12 of these little clips. Just like that. Easy does it. This should come right off. Cool. Okay, the next step is going to be to remove this core brace right here. There is 2 little hidden screws on the edges, so I'm going to have to remove the airbox, and I think I should be able to access the ones on the driver's side. So first I'm going to remove this little stabilizer link, or first I'm going to remove this little support link, remove the airbox, and then I should have access to get those 2 bolts underneath. One out, 3 to go. So this one over here is kind of in a hard to reach spot. Funny enough, I got this little keychain, which is a 10mm, and I think this little ratchet's gonna be perfect. So let's see. Okay, so we got all the screws off, and we're gonna put this bracket support just to the side. That way this condenser would slide out right here with the plastics and everything, and we can go from there. Before we get to that, we are gonna have to remove these oil lines. So they got little rubber clips that goes over. We're just gonna pull them back. And then there's a little spring that we have to disconnect, and this line will come out. So there's one on this side, and then also one on the other side, and there will be a little bit of oil that comes out of it. So we've got our little prigger, our little prying tool. You definitely want to be careful with this, as you do not want to lose it. Just like that. It's got these little retaining springs, and then we should be able just to pull that right out, just like that. Do the same on this side. Pull back the little grommet, and then take off our little spring. Just like that. And before we can take out the condenser, we need to loosen that nut that holds the main AC lines. So right that nut over there, we need to remove that, then we can take out the condenser. There is another bolt right there. This is the back side where I just removed those two AC lines, and that is where the bracket is connected to the radiator. So we got to remove that bolt, and then we should be one step closer and getting this condenser out. Next, you want to disconnect, or basically pull it upwards. This condenser, you need to pull it upwards. Those little wings kind of clip in there. I'll show you guys on the other side. This is part of the condenser, and it slides in right there. So you want to kind of pick it up and pull it out. A little bit of wiggling and waggling and finagling to get this out, but it is possible. So now we got to transfer some of this plastics to the new condenser, and we should be ready for an install. And now we're ready to put in our new condenser. So I'm going to try to wiggle it in the same way I wiggled it out, and let's see how tricky this is going to be. Now I can connect these oil lines again. And we got new clips with the new condenser, so we're gonna do our best not to lose these and get them in. Got one in. Put our cover back on. One to go. There it is. Our cover back on. And now I just gotta connect these AC lines back in where they were. Okay, so we got our AC line connected. We got that little bolt connected with the condenser to the radiator bracket. We got our oil lines connected. So we got these three tightened, these three tightened. The last one's gonna be right here in the middle. And that is a 13 millimeter. I'm just going to quickly wipe this off, not that anybody sees it, but while we're in there, just going to clean it up a little bit. Air box in. Almost forgot this plastic cover that needs to go on here. Now we can put our radiator bolts back. Right back in its place. Now I gotta finagle that fan back in. What makes it tricky to install these fans is these earpieces that need to go past these oil lines, and then we also gotta slide it in at the bottom. So let's see if we can wiggle this in. Same way we wiggled it out, I guess. Okay, looks like we got it wiggled in. Now we just need to slide it in those little spots, those slots. We can tighten it with our two 10 millimeters. These hoses can clip back in its spot. Then we gotta connect our fan plugs, and then also our hoses with the Christmas tree that connects to the fan. It's two little clips, AC lines, and there was one over here. Plastic cover. Just like that. Here's all our clips. I'm just gonna put them back same way we took them out. Just like that. I'm gonna put the intake back on. Clip our sensor back in. Everything back. Now we can recharge the AC system with our vacuum pump. Now that we got the condenser replaced, it's time to recharge the AC. So I got my manifold over here connected to my vacuum pump. So we got the low pressure side over here and then the high pressure side over here. So each one of these are going to disconnect here, and we're going to connect it at our lines inside the engine bay. So you cannot get it wrong. The high pressure only fits on the high pressure, low pressure only fits on the low pressure, so you cannot mix it up. So that's going to be the high pressure, and this is going to be the low pressure right here. So we're going to remove these caps. There's one. Remove this cap. That's two. And then we're going to connect our red and blue right there. To connect this, you just lift it up and then squeeze it on there. That's one on. Want to make sure this is closed, and then we're going to do the high pressure. Just connect it there. Okay, so we got both connected. Now that we got everything connected, we are going to pull a vacuum. So we're going to keep this closed, start our pump. So we're gonna let that run for a little bit. Now that we're down on 30, we're gonna close these up. Turn off our pump. And we're gonna give it an hour to see if it stays on 30. If it loses that vacuum, we know there's still a leak. So hopefully we come back after an hour and that is still on 30. Okay guys, so it's been an hour and our blue gauge is still on 30, so that means we are leak free. Next thing is going to be to open these valves again and then let our vacuum pump run for 45 minutes. That's going to make sure that there's no moisture or air in the lines, and it's going to be completely dry and ready for the refrigerant. Okay, so it's been 45 minutes and we are ready to add our refrigerant. You want to find this little sticker in your car or engine bay. It'll tell you what kind of refrigerant you need to use. In our case, it's R134A, so we got the right stuff. And the amount for this truck is 0.6 kilograms, which converts to 21 ounces. So this can is 12 ounces. So I'm going to put in this whole can, and then I've got a scale that I'm going to be using for the second can. And for the second can, I am going to be using 9 ounces, and that'll make up the 21 ounces. And then also, if you need to add oil, you can just add oil by pouring it into this yellow vacuum line. You can pour a little bit of oil in it and then connect it to your refrigerant, and that way it will just suck everything in and everything will be lubricated. I already added some oil on my line, so now I'm ready to connect it to the refrigerant, and we're gonna open it up and add some refrigerant. Before we open the refrigerant, we're gonna get in the truck, start it up, and then also run the AC. You wanna make sure the AC is on, that way it's gonna suck up all the refrigerant. So we got our AC on and it's on the low setting. So I got my heat gun, and I'm quickly gonna show you guys the current temperature that is blowing out here with the AC on. It is over 100 degrees, which is absolutely terrible when you drive the truck in the middle of the summer, or any time for that matter. So hopefully after we've done this, we can get that temperature a little bit lower. Now we are ready to add our refrigerant. So we're gonna turn in this valve all the way in, so it punctures that seal of the refrigerant. So once it's all the way in, we can loosen it again, and that way it will open up for the refrigerant to be sucked up through that vacuum pipe. These manifolds do have this little glass area in the middle where you can see the refrigerant going through, and the moment that bubbling stops, you know the refrigerant is finished and it's time to put in another one. When you think the refrigerant is empty, you can pick it up, shake it around a little bit, turn it upside down. There's usually a little bit left before it's completely empty. Before we change out the refrigerant for a new one, we want to make sure this valve is closed. Otherwise, that refrigerant is just going to come out the yellow line if we disconnect it from the refrigerant can. I got my second can of refrigerant ready and connected, and now I'm going to use my scale and make sure I only add another 9 ounces, and that should be perfect. I'm using the screwdriver to purge this line a little bit to make sure all the air is out, and now we're ready to let it rip. We got our 21 ounces of AC refrigerant charged into the AC system, and we are ready to disconnect these lines. Do make sure to check out your user manual to make sure the specifications of OEM settings. So I'm gonna go ahead, close these valves and disconnect them, and make sure I replace the caps that came off there. Now we can get back into the truck and see if the AC is cold. I just want to show you guys, currently in the truck it's about 96, 98 degrees. So it is on a hot day. So let's see if this AC is any better. It's already looking good. It's still early days. It's still cooling down, but slowly it is going down. I think we got it down to about 70 degrees on this vent. There was another vent that actually blew cold, like 45, 50 degrees, which was super awesome.
Okay guys, that's gonna bring us to the end of this video, and that is how Samber Style replaces an AC condenser and recharge the system. If you guys find this video helpful, please consider sharing it with your friends and family. If you guys like it here, consider subscribing. Thank you so much for all the love and support. Thank you for watching. Have an awesome day. Until next time, goodbye. And if you are also only in, so the fan got 2 bolts.